Hey guys, TGKS Productions. For this GT Online video, I want to discuss the most recent event or events that have been occurring in the GT Online community, and that is in regards to Rockstar dealing out character wipes to numerous players in the community and really discussing, was this Rockstar's best plan of action or best approach to this matter? Now, I'll be honest, originally I had a very narrow-minded outlook or viewpoint on this matter. I talked about something similar back in May that occurred. I can't remember exactly a ban wave or an account wipe, but players that were abusing the casino chip glitch were getting banned. GT Online, at least that appeared to be most of the players that were getting, like I said, either banned or were suffering consequences for breaking Rockstar's terms of service. Cheating is in Rockstar's terms of service. If you cheat in the game, obviously you're breaking their terms of service. But it was getting to the point where players were literally sending death threats to Rockstar. And obviously, sending death threats to someone or a company in this case is obviously never, it's never acceptable. It's not, that should never be considered. But, I started thinking about, obviously my narrow-minded viewpoint was, these players are breaking Rockstar's terms of service. This is sort of the consequences that you would expect. However, I started thinking about, was this really ultimately their best plan of action? I was listening to other players, I guess, viewpoints or outlooks in the community, and I was hearing what they were saying. It got me sort of thinking about, well, maybe, my outlook should be a little bit different. Maybe my outlook isn't necessarily the best. What really could be a better approach that Rockstar could take in dealing with, players that are cheating or breaking their terms of service. And that's like ultimately what I want to discuss in this video. So from my understanding and from what I've really been hearing and reading up on, players, I'd say most of the players that got their accounts wiped here were obviously cheating. They were breaking Rockstar's terms of service. I believe it was some sort of like property exploit that they were utilizing in order to obviously gain illegitimate funds in GT Online. But that appears to be the majority of the players that got their account wipes. However, was it really necessary for Rockstar to wipe someone's entire account? I would say, at least, is it necessary on a first offense to wipe somebody's entire account? Because I'm sure there were players that this may have been mostly legitimate, and they decided to try this. Doesn't make it right. It doesn't justify it. But was it really appropriate for Rockstar to completely wipe all their progression altogether? I feel like, you know, that may have been a little bit of too stern of a consequence right off the bat, and maybe as a first offense. Now, taking that into consideration, I also was thinking about, well, what if there were some innocent players that, got mixed up in this account wipe, event that has been occurring, or that, with these account wipes that Rockstar has been doing? What if an innocent player got caught in this? And I'm sure there likely probably were some innocent players that did get caught in this mix. Obviously, a very small percentage or small amount. The majority of players that would have had their account wipes were definitely, players that were breaking Rockstar's terms of service. But what would you do in the case that, you were a legitimate player and you got caught up in this mix and you had your progression completely wiped? I mean, that is a pretty serious consequence. It would, end up being false for that particular player. And also, to build on that, from what I've heard, I've never experienced a character wipe or being banned before, and a lot of my close friends that are legitimate players really have never experienced this. But from what I've heard and what I've read about is that, the way that you get, I guess, banned, or that, you get an account wipe, is that I believe it's a software that Rockstar has, or it's computerized. The computer just sort of does it. It, maybe scans your account, sees if you have illegitimate funds, and then determines your consequences. I believe that's how it works. At least that's how I've heard that it works. And from what I've heard also is that it's very difficult to try to dispute that or get your account back. That once you get banned or once your account gets like reset or raised, it's very hard to undo that, if not impossible. So therefore, doing something like this could be a very slippery slope, because if you had innocent players get caught in this, there may be a chance that they never ever get their account back. And that would be very ridiculous, of a false consequence for those, innocent players. So at this point, what could Rockstar do to have a better plan of action or a better approach? Obviously, they can't really just take consequences away altogether, because then, there'd be no consequences for breaking their terms of service. They're not going to do that. But I feel like there could be a better plan of action and a better approach. And here's pretty much what I've been able to come up with just off the top of my head and really what I've been thinking about over the past day or so on, a better system that Rockstar could implement when, dealing with players that are breaking their terms of service. So the system that I came up with was sort of similar to the copyright strike system for YouTube. And if you're not familiar with that, pretty much, and also copyright strikes are very different from copyright claims, just to clarify that. Copyright strikes are much more serious offenses, but I figured that it would be, they could make a system similar to copyright strikes, where typically with copyright strikes, in order for to compare it to character wipes, in order for your YouTube channel or account to be terminated, you usually have to have 3 copyright strikes. I believe it has to be within like around a 90-day period. So that is pretty much, how you can have your, I guess, count terminated. If you get a copyright strike, your count isn't necessarily terminated with the first strike. You have 2 other strikes you'd have to go through within, I guess, a certain period of time for your account to be, your YouTube account to be officially terminated from YouTube and you being able to no longer use it. Now, pretty much if we took the copyright strike system and applied it to GTA Online, essentially there would be sort of a 3 strike system where you wouldn't have your account wiped until you had 3 strikes or 3 offenses against you. Now, I don't know necessarily if it'd have to be in the same amount of time, because obviously Rockstar doesn't necessarily do these like account wipes or ban waves very often. I'm sure players would find ways around to manipulate that, where they could cheat within certain periods of time, wait for this strike to like disappear, and then obviously rack up a couple more strikes against them, but obviously keeping them from completely having their character wiped with having 3 strikes. So they'd probably have to be like permanent strikes. I don't know how Rockstar would necessarily work that in, but at least a strike system to where if you have an offense against you, and especially if it's your first offense, you're not immediately getting your progress reset. I think that is a very stern consequence right off the bat. I think they took it a little bit too far with doing a character progression reset, especially for players that may have cheated for the first time on a particular account. Now, the other thing that would be really nice about the system is not only would it still keep cheating players in check, in a way I would say in a reasonable check, and obviously have them still suffer consequences for breaking the terms of service, but not necessarily too stern or over the top consequences right off the bat. But also, I think a system like this would protect the innocent players that may get caught in this. Like I said, there likely were some innocent players that did get caught up in this character, wipe, or this character, progression being reset for an account. It's very likely a small percentage, but still, there could be some innocent players that got caught up in this mix. And I think a system like this would protect them as well, because obviously you'd have to get 3 strikes in order to be completely banned, or having your character progression reset. And obviously, to be accidentally put into, a cheating, a mix of cheating players 3 times where you get 3 strikes and your account banned, I think is a very small chance of that happening. For Rockstar to accidentally accuse you of cheating 3 times, I don't think that's going to occur. So not only would this still keep cheating players in check, but I think a system like this would also protect the innocent players as well. I know personally, if I lost my character, I probably would just stop playing GTA Online. There's been years of progression with my character, not just with like, properties and vehicles, but I've got to see the evolution of my character since the very beginning of GTA Online until now. I can never replicate that again. So, and I've been saying this for years, if I've ever had my character reset for whatever reason or deleted, I would very likely stop playing GTA Online. I don't think I would want to play GTA Online again, because I would never really be able to replicate what I've been, or what I have over the past 7 years. And also, it's just not worth the time. I'm not going to go through everything all over again. You know, what I've already done, all the properties that I own, all the vehicles, just because there is an error on Rockstar's end. I don't think it's worth that. I think at that point it would be time for me to stop playing GTA Online. But, like I said, I think a system like this protects, it protects innocent players, but it also deals with consequences as well. So I think a system like this would definitely ultimately be a better approach and a better plan of action that Rockstar could carry out when dealing with cheaters that are breaking the terms of service for GT Online, or really, I would say any of their online games. Probably even Red Dead Online as well. But in any case, guys, definitely let me know what you guys think about this system that I was able to come up with. Give me feedback on it, and let me know if there is a system that you've come up with yourself that could, like I said, better regulate cheaters and also protect the innocent players in the community or in the online communities of Rockstar's games. But as always, guys, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video. Be sure to comment if you have any questions, and have a great day.